speaking about Rabbi Akiva. Let's go back to the right at the beginning, this whole concept of neders. So on page 900, and it says, again, I'm in the second pasuk on page 900, 2 lines from the top. It says, Ish ki yidor neder la'Hashem, o hishava shvua lesor isar al nafsho, lo yochel devaro. He should not, how's he ask you? Profane his word, desecrate his word. He should not desecrate his word. Now, there's a concept in Judaism of not lying. The Torah says to be dvar sheker tirchak. The Torah says you should distance yourself from falsehood. You never find that expression anywhere else in the Torah. It doesn't say distance yourself from shatnez or distance yourself from pork. It never says anywhere. But when it comes to falsehood, not only you shouldn't speak falsehood, you should distance yourself from it completely, because it's so easy for a person, because of the ability, the ability speech is so easy. We twist the truth, we distort the truth. So there are 2 points. One that we've mentioned several times in the past, but it's got to be clarified. Rav Dessler says, what constitutes truth? What constitutes truth is not yes is yes and no is no. Truth is saying the right thing at the right time. The classic example of the Gemara, where the Gemara says Kala Na'a v'chasuda, which we've mentioned in the past. When somebody is getting married, you say to them, it's a wonderful, wonderful choice you've made as a bride. Even if you don't think much of her, and you would never marry her, but he obviously does. If somebody drives up to you with a brand new car, and he says to you, what do you think of my new car? Guy brought a brand new Toyota Corolla, says, what do you think of my car? How much did you pay for it? $23,000. So a lot of people's reaction is, 23, my brother-in-law could have gotten you for $21,500, right? He will never enjoy that car. You've just destroyed the car, right? You've just destroyed the car. Right? What did you gain by doing it? You say to the guy, wow, beautiful car. Even if it's the last car, you don't like the car, you've read studies that brand of car tends to break down on highways when in rainstorms, right, and loses a tire at the same time. Whatever it is, but it's a done deal. It's a done deal. So what did you gain by doing it? It's an act of cruelty to belittle a purchase. Truth, under the circumstances, is, wow, beautiful car. Because he thinks it's beautiful, that's why he bought it. Wow, great car. That's truth. If an anti-Semite stops you on the street and he pulls out a gun and he says, Jew, do you keep kosher? Right? And if you say yes, if you keep kosher, I'm going to kill you. And he says, do you keep kosher? You're allowed to say no, to save your life. What should you say to the guy? Yes. I'm a man of truth. You're not allowed to deny being Jewish.
No. My question is, if you were to go so far as to...
Idol worship and immorality and murder.
No. They present you with non-kosher food.
Then you eat it. Then you eat it. The halacha is that you only give up your life unless you're in for the presence of 10 Jews, or unless it's a period of what's it called? It's Shas HaShmad, where there is a movement to try to make Jews renounce their Judaism. But if a guy's on the way home, you're on your way home from shul, you're on your way home, and an anti-Semite's sitting on his porch. He says, hey, Jew, get over here. My wife just made me this pork sandwich, and if I don't eat it, she's going to kill me. And I'm not hungry because I had a pizza on the way home. Now you eat it, right? And there, his purpose, he's not got nothing, he just wants you to eat it. There, the halach is you eat it. You do not give up your life. Jews, you're on your way home from shul on Shabbos, and the guy sitting, the anti-Semite is sitting on his front porch drinking a beer, and he says, hey, Jew, get over here. And he pulls out a shotgun and says, Jew, get over here and mow my lawn. Right, then the halacha is you mow the lawn on Shabbos, because you don't have to give up your life. If he says, Jew, worship idols, commit adultery, immorality, murder, then you have to give up your life. He says, Jew, eat the cheeseburger, then you ask for a side order of fries and let's go. You even make a bracha. But if he says to you to desecrate Shabbos, then you make a bracha. But if it's for what do you call it? I told you a story about the guy who's really frum, and then the anti-Semite stops him. Remember the story? The anti-Semite stops a Jew. He says, okay, Jew, I'm going to kill you. Guy, thing you'd like to say before you die? So there's a bracha you make before you die. When a Jew's going to die, Al Kiddush Hashem, because you can't sanctify in God's name. So there's a bracha you make. So the Jew, he says, Jew, I'm going to kill you. Got anything you want to say? So he goes, yes. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu l'kadesh shmo barabim. There's a bracha you make. Kadesh Shem Shemayim, whatever different Peter was the bracha. So l'kadesh Shem Shemayim. He says, you're a nut. I'm not going to kill you. I'm not going to waste a bullet out of you. You're nuts. And the Jew's from guy. He looks at it and goes, no. So don't be that from. So truth is not when your wife comes home and your wife says to you, how do you like the new sweater I bought? Right? I pity you when you get into that situation, gentlemen. Don't say, one day it's going to happen to you, and you can say, that Rabbi Kaplan, make out the checks to Kaplan with a K. All right, your wife says, how do you like the new sweater that I bought? And you're like, orange with gray stripes was just never your thing. The answer is, wow, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now you're going to get burned because she's going to say to you, oh, you really think so? I think it's chalashes. I'm giving it back. You can never do the right thing. But you're better to go that way than to say you don't like it and risk painful death, right? Much better to do it that way. So any time in life that you compliment somebody, because they need to give you complimented, that's truth, even if you don't really think so. That's a compliment. That's not flattery, by the way. When it says that there's something called flatterers, who are a group of people who are going to end up in Gehenna, flattery does not mean complimenting. Flattery means when a sinner, somebody is sinning, and you aid and abet a sinner with your encouragement. You tell the sinner that what he's doing is okay. That's what it means by kas chanefim. But to tell truth, truth does not mean saying yes when it's yes, but the truth means saying the right thing, number one. Number two, here, if a kid, your 3-year-old falls and he scratches his knee, so you come over and say, oh, let me kiss the boo-boo, right? Now, we all know it doesn't work. Right? Kissing the boo-boo doesn't help, right? So what you really say is, hey kid, man up, come on, he's 3 years old. You kiss the boo-boo. That's not true. Yeah, it is true because that's what he needs under the circumstances. That's the difference between. That's one level of truth. The second level of truth is to stay very loyal to the truth when you have to. Now, there's a question about exaggeration. Are you allowed to exaggerate? Is it permissible according to halacha to exaggeration? So there are two types of exaggerations. There's one exaggeration where I say to you, I was walking yesterday, 3 guys started up with me. I put all 3 of them in the hospital. Right? Now, I'm exaggerating. It wasn't 3, it was 1. And it wasn't 3 guys, it was a little old lady. And I didn't put her in the hospital. She belted me with her purse. Okay. Now that's what. Now I just told you it was 3 guys, and I put all 3 of them in the hospital. Now that's an exaggeration. It's not an exaggeration. You have changed the facts. It's an out-and-out lie. Exaggeration, which is permissible according to halacha, is when you use a figure of speech, which everybody knows is figure of speech. I told you 1,000,000 times, don't exaggerate. Right? That we all know is a figure of speech. That is permissible. That's permissible exaggeration. That's not truth. Now. Loyalty to truth has no limits. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky Zatzal was known as the man of truth of our generation. So when Yaakov Kamenetsky was a yeshiva bacher, and he was about 15 years old. Now he was a Litvak, a hardcore Litvak. Litvaks on Pesach eat gebrux. You know what gebrux is? Matzah that's been touched liquid. There is a stringency in many Hasidic communities. In many Hasidic communities, they have a stringency. They do not eat gebrux on Pesach. That means if the matzah, they won't put any liquid. They don't drop the matzah in the soup. They don't eat knedlach. They won't smear anything on the matzah. They're concerned, the stringency from the Hasidic stringency, a very interesting stringency. They're concerned, no matzah brai. No. Their concern is that part of the matzah might not have been fully baked. Maybe there is some flour that was not fully baked in the matzah, and if you put liquid on it, it starts the enzyme, the process of the enzymes fermenting, which is what we call chametz. So they even eat matzah at the table. Some of them wrap it in a bag. They won't touch it. That's a Hasidic stringency. Litvaks, such as myself, and Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, dyed in the red Litvaks, will not only eat gebrux, they make a point to eat gebrux, to eat gebrux, because they want to show that we don't abide, because they consider it a ridiculous stringency, because what do you want? All of a sudden you're worried about little crumbs, and then there's no end to it. Okay, there are traditions in the Jewish people. They have their tradition, we have our tradition. So Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, somebody once noticed, dyed in the blood, what's say dyed in the red? There's an expression like that. A hardcore Litvak, yet he didn't eat gebrux. So they once asked him, why don't you eat gebrux? You're a Litvak, why don't you eat gebrux? Rabbi Kamenetsky said, when he was 15 years old, he was a yeshiva bacher, and he was invited to somebody's house for Pesach. And when he went into the Pesach Seder, he got nervous a little bit about the level of kashrus in the home. So when they offered him the first course, which was soup with matzo balls floating in the soup, so Rabbi Yaakov Kanansky said, I don't eat gebruks. From the day he said, when they asked him, why aren't you eating soup? He says, I don't eat gebruks. From the day he said, I don't eat gebruks, he never ate gebruks. He never ate gebruks. Later in life, he started to. You know what happened? His first wife was Difter, and he remarried. And then the first Pesach that his new wife, Pesach Seder, I guess they hadn't discussed the gebruks issue, and she came out and served him gebruks. And he didn't know what to do because on one hand he doesn't eat gebruks. It's a neder, like exactly what we're talking, because since he had already taken it on as a custom, it got the status of neder. On the other hand, it's a new wife, you don't want to hurt her feelings. So what did he do? He waited till she left the room, and there were 3 yeshiva bachrim sitting at the table, and he did what's called hataras nedarim, when you release a neder. Remember we talked about Yoga? He waited till she was out of the room, he released the neder, and from that point on, he started eating gebruks. That's a person who's loyal both to truth and to sensitivity to you, to people. And it's a legitimate, we said yesterday, it's a legitimate out. Person, you said something. Nowadays you say something, half the time we don't even know what we said. You made a commitment, you said something, you made a commitment, you hold by your word. Even in the Westerns on TV, there was always the biggest insult. You call me a liar. There's always 2 guys get into a fist fight in a bar because one of them called the other one. You call me a liar? Oh, why not? You're a drunk, a womanizer, a no good, a bank robber, but not a liar. There's a certain pride. Even politicians, he lied. I did not lie. I mean, why not? This is a guy that does drugs. He can't be trusted by his own wife. Why shouldn't he lie? Of course he lied. No, there's something about truth. George Washington was the man of truth. I cannot tell a lie. I chopped down the cherry tree. From a halachic point of view, from a Torah point of view, we look at, what are you going to break in other people's property for? Big deal, you told the truth. I cannot tell a lie. It was I who robbed the bank. Oh, what a man, my hero. Don't rob banks, don't chop down cherry trees. We won't have a problem over here. You have to pay for the cherry tree. Wait, tell me you told the truth. But there is an idea there's an idea in halacha of not lying. You don't lie. So Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, have you ever seen the minhag that some people, when they daven, at the end of the davening, they take off the Rashi tefillin and they put on the Rabbeinu Tam tefillin? You ever seen that? They put on the second pair of tefillin. So again, what's that? They're not necessarily smaller. They could be made the same size. They may be smaller. They don't, not by. But the only difference between them has to do with the order of the parchments of the Shal So some people take on a stringency. Most that I know do not. I've never worn Rabbeinu Tam tefillin. Maybe one day if I have a chance I'll put it on. But I've never worn Rabbeinu Tam tefillin. And by the letter of the law, you certainly don't have to. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, late in life, was about 90 years old, and on his 90th birthday he put on Rabbeinu Tam tefillin. First time. So a guy came over to him and he said to him, can I ask you a question? Why did you, 90 years, why did you decide to put on Rabbeinu Tam tefillin now? So Rabbi Kanansky said, well, about 50 years ago I was walking out of shul, about 40 years old, and a guy said to me, you ought to wear Rabbeinu Tam tefillin. And I said to him, oh, you know what, when I'm 90. And I said it off the go, I'm 90. I said I would do it, so now I have to do it. That's the man of truth. He lived to 95, right? He lived to 95. That's the man of truth. That's what the Torah is telling us. That's what the Torah is telling us, is a person has to be loyal to truth. Lo yochel devaro. Okay, that's idea number 1. Idea number 2, we spoke yesterday about Rabbi Akiva, and now turn to Perek Lamed Aleph, Pasuk Aleph. Okay, we're out of this concept of the Dara now, and then on page 902. Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe lemor. God says to Moshe, it's the bottom of the very last line on page 902. God says to Moshe, Nikom nikmas b'nei Yisrael me'es hamidyonim. Take the vengeance of the Jewish people from the Midianites, achar te'osef elamecha, and then you are going to die. So, first of all, why do they have to take revenge from the Midianites? The Midianites were the ones that caused the Jewish people to sin. Remember, the Midianite women came and to the Jewish men, and they enticed them, and they got them to worship idols and to be involved in immorality. Now it's payback time. So we're going to war against Midian, and we're going to kill the Midianites. So God says to Moshe Rabbeinu, first of all, I want you to lead the Jewish people in war against the Midianites. And second of all, then you're going to die. Now you'll notice how the Torah talks about death. Look what the Torah says. You will be gathered to your people. If you translate the words, that's what it translates to. Well, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? What does te'osef elamecha mean? If I would have said, I would say you're going to go into the earth. Why is death described as you will be gathered to your people? That means there's something after death. You're going to be gathered to your ancestors, your people who have already died. And the Torah says openly, te'osef elamecha, you'll be gathered to your people. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. We put a person in the earth. You wouldn't say, okay, you're going to your people. That's not very nice. You know, I'd like my own grave. I don't want to be in there with somebody else. You know, well, what does it mean? You're going to be gathered to your people. Te Yosef el Amecha, you're going to be gathered to your people. That means there's life after death. There's something after life. Clearly, openly in the Torah. That's how the Torah describes it, number one. Number two, I had a kid here once who was studying to be a Reform rabbi. He was actually a nice kid. And I started talking to him. He said that he does not believe in anything after death. There's no life after death. So I said to him, nothing? He said, no. I mean, it's pointless to put flowers on a grave or to visit with Jews don't do that. It's pointless to visit. No, nothing. So I said to him, can I ask you a question? Do you mind if after you die we use your body for dog food? And we'll chop you up, grind you up, use it for dog food. I mean, there's nothing after it. No, you can't do that. Why not? So he had to think fast. He said, I want to use some of my organs for science. I want to donate. He was proud of it. He said, I want to donate some of my organs for science. I said, that's great. We'll use your eyes, maybe some kidneys. You know, science needs that, right? Your thighs, there's plenty of good meat there. Science does not need that. There's plenty of good beef there. You know, science doesn't need that. Do you mind if we use that for dog food? He goes, no, you can't. I said, why not? He says, my relatives will be upset. I said, I'll take care of your relatives. We'll pay them off. We'll pay your money to the relatives. Don't worry, your relatives will be okay. We'll make it worth their while. Now, do you mind? Yeah, I still mind. I said, why? He says, because I mind. I said, but that's inconsistent. He goes, so I'm inconsistent. And we both started laughing because he realized everybody knows there's something afterwards. Everybody senses that there's something afterwards. Like this whole idea of visiting the grave. You know the story of the guy dies. The guy dies, and three friends come to visit the grave. So the first guy comes over and says, Frank, we're going to miss you. And he puts a $20 bill on the grave. And the second guy says, Frank, I'm going to miss you too. And he puts a $20 bill on the grave. The third guy's Jewish. He says, Frank, I'm going to miss you too. Writes a $60 check and he takes the $40 cash. So we all, we all understand that there's something after death. So he says, Te achar te osef el amecha. Okay, now. Why is Moshe Rabbeinu's, you understand what's going on? God says to Moshe Rabbeinu, go to war, and then you're going to die. The commentators point out that Moshe Rabbeinu could have put this off for a while. His death is linked to going to war now. What would you do if you were told, okay, go fight them, and then you're going to die? And when do I have to fight them? Whenever you want. No kidding. Hey, you'd find something to do for the next 40 or 50 years, right? Before getting, and Moshe Rabbeinu immediately, look at the next pasuk. Vaydaber Moshe el am lemor hecholzu beitchem anoshim atzava. Get men ready for war. His death, he's going to die right after this war. And Moshe Rabbeinu, God said to do it. He wants it done now. He wants it done now. Moshe Rabbeinu is not a teenager. Talk to a teenager. Say, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you go down? Mommy needs you to go buy some stuff. Okay. No movement. Sitting on the couch. No. Hey, now, when are you planning on doing it? Sometime in the next 2 weeks. No. Now. So Moshe Rabbeinu, God says to Moshe, when do you go fight a war against Midian? And Moshe Rabbeinu says, okay. And he's ready to fight the war now. So and then what's going to happen? He's going to die, and the Jewish people are going to go into the land of Israel. There's a very, very big significance to fighting this war. What is the significance? The war against Midian being the last stage before they go into the land of Israel. So the commentators point out, it's one last reminder to the Jewish people. We are built on two things. We're built on faith, and we're built on moral behavior. That's the backbone of the Jewish people. We're built on faith, and we're built on moral behavior. The Midianites fought both those fundamentals of the Jewish people. They came to trap the Jewish people, to trap them into immorality, and use that as a stepping stone to get the Jewish people to worship idols. A contradiction to faith and a contradiction to moral behavior. We're built on moral behavior and we're built on faith. One last reminder for the Jewish people, one last command from Moshe Rabbeinu. This is Judaism. These are the Jews. We are faith, and we're going to have to kill the Midianites. We're going to go to war because they represent the opposite of those two values that they're the cornerstones of what the Jewish people are built on. Therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu gives this final command and leads them to this war, gives the command for this war. Now, take a look at what the Jewish people do. Vaydaber Moshe Elohim, top line on page 204. Leimor heicholzu me'itchem anoshim latzava, provide men for the army. V'yu al Midian lo seis nikmas Hashem b'Midian. They shall be against Midian for Hashem's vengeance. How many men are going to go? 1,000 lamata, 1,000 per tribe. L'chol matos Yisrael tishluchu latzava, 1,000 per tribe. Fifth line. I'm on the fifth line, on the fourth line on page 904.
Why does it double twice?
It's always, whenever it doubles, it's an emphasis. 1,000 per tribe, 1,000 per tribe. Vayimasru me'alfei Yisrael elef lamata shneim asar elef chalutzei tzova. There were 12,000 men. Now, according to the text of the Torah, there are 12,000 men who go to war. The Medrash says there were 12,000 men who fought, 12,000 men who watched the equipment, and 12,000 men who prayed. But where did they daven? All the Jewish people daven. Everybody daven. When Jewish people go to war, everybody davens. There were 12,000 men selected to go daven at the battlefront. At the battlefront. 12,000 are fighting, 12,000 are handling the equipment, and 12,000 are standing there davening. You can imagine, boom, boom, just 1 second. Amen, Yehei, Shmei, Rabbi, okay, come on back. Boom, 12,000 guys are at the battlefront, they're davening, all right? So the commentaries ask, why do they have to be davening at the battlefront? Why? I mean, davening at home. Davening, God's not limited by prayers. Prayers are universal. You can daven everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, you can daven. You can daven here for people in France. You can daven in France for people in China. You don't have to be standing next to the people. Why does the Torah say that the men who are davening, they go out to the battlefront and they daven at the battlefront? What do you think the idea is? Again, your first name is?
Avi.
Avi, go ahead.
I would say it would be like an example for Midian, but they're about to die.
Yeah, we're not worried about Midian. We're not. You're close. We're not worried about Midian. Midian, you're going to die, right? And we're not worried about them. What are we worried about? That reminds me of is this woman, husband and wife go to the doctor. Husband and wife go to the doctor. So the husband goes in, doctor examines him. He says, go wait out in the waiting room. Okay, he's in the waiting room. The wife walks in, and the doctor says, send in your wife. The wife comes in, the doctor says to her, listen, your husband's very sick. All right, you're going to have to make him 3 nutritious meals a day. Don't ask him for money. Don't nag him. Don't ask him to do anything around the house, and just make sure he's relaxed and comfortable. And if you don't listen to me, if you don't follow my instructions later, your husband may die. So the wife goes, ooh, and she goes out into the waiting room. The husband says to her, what did the doctor say? What did he say? She looks at him, she goes, he said you're going to die. Right. So the Midianites are going to die. So they're out of the picture over here. Okay. Why else would you need 12,000 men at the battlefront? Why would you need 12,000 men at the battlefront? So the idea is like this: think to yourself. This works in 2 directions. They talk about bands when bands play and there are people dancing, like at a wedding or at a concert or whatever it is. We have what's called a mosh pit. Where people are learning Musar together in close proximity. So they have, you're at a concert, and the band is playing. The band plays to the people. The more the people dance, the more energized the band gets, and the more energized the band gets, the more the people get wild. Right? That's how it works. The wilder they are, the better they play. The better they play, the wilder they are. So that's the other area. They play, they dance. The more you dance, the more they play. The better they play, the better you dance. Right? You get into the revolving cycle. You're davening right now. If I said to you, there's a guy down the block who's not feeling well, a guy down the block who's deathly ill, would you daven? Oh, terrible. We daven. Say a kapitel tehillim for the guy. I take you into the guy's house, and you see that the guy's got all sorts of tubes hooked up to him, and he's in traction and everything else. Do you think that would affect your davening a little differently? I think so. Seeing is believing. You're always affected by what you see more than what you hear. Hearing, the Gemara says, you can't compare hearing about something to seeing it. And all it takes is a picture worth 1,000 words is very true. You go off to war, you're told, the Jewish people are up north in Gaza, south in Gaza, up north on the Golan, and we daven for them. If you'd see what they're going through, it'd be completely different davening, because you're watching it. So number one, they're at the battlefront to see what kind of davening is required. Oh, hey, this is dangerous. War is dangerous, in the old days especially. People got knives and blades and stuff, and clubs. It's not like nowadays. You hit a laptop and take out a couple of cities, right? War was very personal in those days. Right? Nowadays, hit a laptop. Oops. Took out Damascus. Sorry, I didn't mean that. I was actually aiming for Saudi Arabia. Sorry. Oh well, we can delete it. Boom. So you're watching people are chopping each other up. Then you daven brings out your kishkas. But even more than that, you're the victorious army at war. You're out at war and you're killing people. What's the danger in a war like that? There's something called kochi ve'otzem yodi. I'm doing it on my own. My strength and my might, I'm doing it on my own. Now the Torah says, take a look, there are 12,000 guys davening over there. That should remind you that it's not about you. You have to go to war because God said go to war, because the world runs a certain way. Just remember what's really giving you the ability to win at that war. The ability to win a war is those 12,000 people are standing there davening. That's the reminder to you what's helping you at the battlefront. That's the idea of them being at the battlefront. That's what the Torah says. Okay. Now, take a look. They come back from the battlefront. And they win the war. They win the war. And then they come out, they come back to from the battlefront. Take a look all the way at the bottom of page 904. Vayetzu, 3 lines from the bottom. Vayetzu Moshe ve'Elazar HaKohen v'chol nesiyah ha'ida likrasam. They come out to greet the soldiers who are coming back from the battlefront. Al michutz lamachaneh. Vayiktzov Moshe al pikudei ha'chayil. Moshe gets upset with the officers. Sorei alofi v'sorei ha'meos haboy mitzvah ha'milchama. Vayomer aleim Moshe. Moshe says to them, Hachayisem kol nekeva. You've let, the ArtScroll puts it in question form. Have you let the women, it's really a rhetorical question. Have you taken women prisoners? Because he obviously had women prisoners. Hein hayu livnei Yisrael b'dvar bilam nimsor ma'al b'Hashem al dvar. They entrapped the Jewish people. They caused the Jewish people to stumble. They should have been killed. Why are you bringing back these women prisoners? But you'll notice what Moshe Rabbeinu does. Did you ever win the friend? Did you ever read the book How to Win Friends? How to Win Friends and Manipulate People and Influence People? Did you ever read that book? A wonderful book. A wonderful book. You should really read the book. Very, very good book. Interpreted. Look what Moshe Rabbeinu does. And I'll read this very carefully. It's very subtle. It's very subtle. Go back to the previous page, 2 lines from the bottom. Vayiksof Moshe al pikudei achoyel. Moshe gets angry at them. And then look at the next page. Now look at the top of the next page. Vayomer aleim Moshe. See anything a little peculiar about that? A little. Okay, first of all, it should be yelling, because that's what we think of anger as people yelling. But number 2, there's something else that seems to be redundant here. Who are we talking about? Moshe got angry at the Jewish people, at the army people. Then the next line says, Vayomer aleim Moshe. Moshe said to them. We're talking about Moshe. We're just talking about Moshe. I would have just said, and he said to them. He said to them. Why does it say Vayomer aleim Moshe? We know who's talking. It just said Vayiksof aleim Moshe. Vayomer aleim. And Moshe said, Achayisem kol. Why does it repeat Moshe's name again? Why does it repeat Moshe's name again? So the commentaries point out that this is almost a separate thought. In other words, there's some sort of pause that took place here. Moshe got angry at the Jewish people. Moshe said to them, very close to what you're saying, Avi, you'd think you should be yelling at them. Torah is teaching you, what do you do when you have to rebuke somebody? You have to tell somebody off. So there's an old saying, if you ever feel like telling somebody off, don't. That's not the time to do it. I'm really going to tell them off. Don't. You're going to end up in trouble. That's not, because when you tell somebody off and you're upset, it's not coming from the right place. When you need to correct somebody and you really want to correct them, okay, I agree, that's when it's most fun. But that's not the right time to do it, because it's not coming from the right place. That means you got a personal vendetta against the guy. You want to correct somebody? Make sure that the correction is coming from the right place. Never yell at your kids when you're upset. Wait till you're not upset. Wait till you're happy, then yell at them. It doesn't work that way. Right? Never yell at your kids when you're upset. I would say statistically in the world, more kids get spanked on a day that daddy took a pay cut or the market went down than on the day that daddy got a raise or the market went up. Statistically, it's got to be that way. Daddy comes home and he's in a bad mood and the kid spills milk on his sister and whap, right? Because daddy's in a bad mood. When daddy's in a good mood, he just got a pay raise, the market's up on his investment and he comes home and Billy spills milk on his sister, then daddy looks and says, well, that's my boy, right? A completely different view. Why? Because the action is the same action, but you're not the same person. And therefore you have to separate yourself from the action itself. So first thing is, stop. I'm upset, stop. Wait. Vayomer aleim Moshe. He's going to a completely new approach. all right, guys, you did the wrong thing. You kept these women alive. What's wrong with it? They were part of the pitfall of the Jewish people. They're meant to be executed. They're not meant to be kept alive. They're meant to be kept. And we see that the Jewish people didn't execute them. Only the ones who were not suitable to anyone who could not have been involved in any form of immorality, they're kept alive. But the lesson the Torah teaches you is, how do you rebuke somebody? You know, a man once came to the Chafetz Chaim. He was one of these traveling preachers. What do they think? What they call a magid. There's a Jewish traveling preacher. He used to go from city to city, and he'd get up and he came to the Chafetz Chaim. He said to the Chafetz Chaim, you know, I go around giving people musar, and I just don't feel that my words are being effective. I don't feel I'm having an effect. I'm not getting a response. I don't think I'm moving people. So the Chafetz Chaim said to him, can I ask you a question? Did you put on tefillin this morning? He says, tefillin? What are you doing? Of course I put on tefillin. A damn beard with a throne guy. Of course I put on tefillin. So Chafetz Chaim, when you put on tefillin this morning, did you yell? No, why would I yell? You know, once in a while, about Tshuva yells. He puts on the tefillin too tight. You know, so he yells. Why would I yell when I'm putting on my tefillin? So Chafetz Chaim says, look, tefillin is a Torah command, right? You put on your tefillin, and you didn't yell. Rebuking your fellow Jew, hocheach tocheach es amisecha, is also a Torah command. Why would you yell? Why should you yell when you're rebuking people? To the contrary, if you're yelling at me, it's not a very effective rebuke. We think of the word rebuke as a principal, a high school principal, like in your face with a finger, right? That's rebuke. That's not rebuke. That's not rebuke. That's a high school principal being annoying. And the man is, man, you don't understand that I needed to cheat on the test? What, I can't, how much I got to explain that? How am I going to get that through your thick skull? Of course I need to cheat on the test, right? What, did you cheat when you were in high school? So that's a rebuke. That's not rebuke. That's not effective. That's control. Control is nothing. You want to affect somebody? The way you affect somebody is hocheach tocheach es amisecha. You have to rebuke your fellow man. That means if you don't feel that he's your fellow man, you can't rebuke him at that moment. Hocheach tocheach es amisecha. You don't need to yell at people when you rebuke them. So Moshe Rabbeinu shows us that only effective rebuke is when you're not upset. Because when you're upset, all you're going to do is start an argument. I understand where you're coming from. I heard about a guy, the terrible story, I love it. There was a couple was walking. A couple was walking. They took like a hike, and it was like a hike through out in the hills, and it was like one of these trails. It's about a 6-hour hike, and they're hiking through the trails, and at a certain point, the wife sits down. Husband says, "What's wrong?" She says, "I'm starving. I'm absolutely starving." He says, "Come on, it's just another couple of hours. We'll get there." They walk another half hour. She sits down. She says, "I'm absolutely." Gives her something to drink. She says, "I'm absolutely starving. When are we going to get there?" And the husband says, "Are you really starving?" She says, "Really starving." "I mean, you're really hungry?" She says, "Yeah, I am really hungry." He says, "Okay, so I just want you to know that's exactly how I feel when I come home every night." Now, it's not very nice rebuke. It's certainly not nice rebuke, and no husband should ever do something like that. So as I say, it's a terrible story, but I love it. The point is made. Real rebuke in the Torah, the other Torah says, "Hocheach tocheach es amisecha." You know what real rebuke is? The most effective rebuke? So let me share a little parenting secret with you, which you should employ. The word hocheach, tocheach, what the Torah says in Parshas Kedoshim, hocheach tocheach es amisecha, it's linked to the Hebrew word nochach. You know what nochach means? In front of. There's a verse that says, Shifchi kamayim libech, pour out your heart like water, nochach pnei Hashem, in front of God. You know what hocheach tocheach means? You're going to rebuke somebody. You know what rebuke means? Showing the person that he hasn't lived up to who he is. One of the most effective ways when you have to ever ball out one of your kids. Kid comes home from school, he got in trouble, he did something. We say to the kid, "A boy like you doesn't do that." Now that's a totally ambiguous statement. But what does the kid hear in that? He hears that behavior is not me. A boy like you doesn't do that. A boy like you doesn't do that. You're not. We expect more from you. I did this once. I've never had the presence of mind to do it since then. I read this, I think, probably in Dale Carnegie's book. I did it once, and it worked unbelievable. I got on a bus here in Israel. There were a group of young guys, they're probably about 17 years old. And they were being rowdy on the bus, and at a certain point, I think they started picking on somebody who shouldn't have been picked on. They were picking on somebody on the bus, saying something. So I looked at I picked out the one that I felt was the ringleader. And, he certainly seemed to grow up when meat was cheap. And I decided he was a ringleader. So I said to him, a guy with a good heart like you doesn't do that. So he looks at me. No one in the world wants to tell you I don't have a good heart. I said, a guy with a good heart like you doesn't behave like that. It's not. I said, it's not. Lo matim lecha. Chadim lev tov kabocha lo matim lecha. A guy with a good heart like you, it's not. It's not becoming of you. Who told you I have a good heart? Yeah, we see. Everybody knows. But we can see. So next thing you know, he's turning on. Tafsiku. Right? Because somebody says he's got a good heart. You understand, right? You have to have the presence of mind. I've only done it once. To my discredit, I've only done it once. It works like a charm. You start out, you tell a person, this is who you are. You're not living up to yourself. You're not a thug from the gutter, even though you might be. You're not a thug from the gutter. You got a good heart. Everybody wants to hear he's got a good heart. That's what rebuke is. You tell a kid, hey, listen, that's not who you are. Hochech tochech means put the person in front of himself. You haven't lived up to your own potential. We expect more from you. That's much different than you're a no good neck. You understand the difference? That's the type of rebuke. So Moshe Rabbeinu, first of all, never when you're angry. Never when you're angry. Okay. Now, comes along the Torah, and then the Torah says like this. Oh, I skipped something. Turn back for 1 second. Very important. Very important. Forgive me. I skipped it. It's on back on Pasuk on page 904. I knew there was something I wanted to get to. I forgot all about this. So again, on the third line, it says, Elef lamata lechomatos Yisrael tishluchu latzava. You send these men to war. Now, who went to war among the Jewish people? Anybody know? Who in the Jewish people went to battle? You know, they made an announcement at the battlefront. Men would go to the battlefront. They'd say, okay, anybody who is within their first year of marriage, go home. Anybody who is with their first year of having planted a vineyard, go home. Anybody who's with the first year of having built a new house and settled your house, go home. They leave the battlefront.
So older people?
What's that?
Older people?
No, we're talking about people between 20 and 60. Only people between 20 and 60 went to war. And anybody who's what do you call it? Who's built any one of these three things, go home. And then they say anybody who has sinned is concerned that sin will prosecute him at the battlefront, go home. So the Talmud says, and what type of sin did they go home for? Well, give me an example of a sin. I mean, you think, okay, I did. Gemara says, if you put on your head tefillin before your arm tefillin. You put on your head tefillin before your arm, go home.
How's that a sin?
There are others who say because you're supposed to put on your arm tefillin before your head tefillin. Some say if you talked between putting on your arm tefillin to your head tefillin, which you're certainly not allowed to do. But the order of putting on tefillin is the arm tefillin, then the head tefillin. The guy put on his head tefillin, they put it on, or he talked. He spoke between his arm tefillin and his head tefillin. Go home. I mean, honestly, where do you think that ranks on the scale of sin? So most people say that should be my biggest avera. You ever hear that expression, by the way? Should be my biggest sin. Sometimes people do. I once saw a guy there davening mincha. So somebody said to them, hey guys, it's after Shkia. It's after sunset. You can't daven mincha. The guy said, should be my biggest avera. Right? Which sounds good. There's only one problem. It's not his biggest avera. If it was his biggest avera, you're right, but it's not. He got much bigger avera. What do you mean it should be my biggest avera? But it's an avera. It should be my biggest avera. But it's not your biggest avera. You got a lot more things. So a guy spoke between his tefillin shel yad and tefillin shel rosh. A guy put on his head tefillin before his arm tefillin. Go home. You don't go to the bed. Why not? You sinned. I mean, honestly, if that was my biggest avera, I'd be doing it. I would dance a jig right now if that was my biggest avera. So why did they go home? What's really going on here? And the answer becomes, why would somebody put on their head, like you asked, Avi, why would somebody put on their head tefillin before their arm tefillin? Why would you talk between putting on your tefillin shad, your tefillin rosh, which you're not supposed to?
You don't want to go to war.
You made a mistake. Not because you don't want to go to war. It's a good idea, but not because you don't want to go to war. Right?
You lost concentration.
Yeah, you lost concentration. I mean, most people I've never put on my head tefillin ever. And I'm not wide awake and happy as a lark when I get to shul at 7 in the morning. Yet I've never put on my head tefillin before my arm tefillin. I have put on my talis and forgotten to put on my tefillin completely. But I've never gotten my tefillin mixed up. I've never done that. Never happened to me. Right? Why would somebody? Once in a while you talk between your hand tefillin and your head tefillin, but even that you shouldn't do. Why would that happen? You got mixed up. getting mixed up is almost like trying to eat. For a frum Jew who davens every morning, to get mixed up on your head tefillin and your arm tefillin is like getting mixed up and trying to use a fork for your soup, right? Nobody who's a professional eater uses fork and puts a fork in the soup. You've never happened to you. You will not make that mistake. You might use your spoon on your salad. I know somebody who actually does that lichatchila. He eats salad with his spoon. He says it's just more efficient. He looks like a coal miner. He just like he's shoveling it into his mouth. Absolutely no pride. But it is more efficient. Okay. Now, why would you? Because you got mixed up. Why would you get mixed up at the battlefront with your head tefillin and your arm tefillin? It means you got spooked. You got spooked. Something spooked you. Your mind was taken off. What do you think? Hey, I'm about to go to battle. And you mix it. You got mixed up. Oh, we can't. You're not on a high enough level of faith to go to war. Person who goes to war isn't spooked at all at the battlefront. You have total faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Therefore, even at that level, what are you getting? You're getting mixed up. That means you're not focused the way you should be focused. Therefore, you are not qualified to go to war. Okay? Now, go to where we were holding. I don't know if we'll have time for it today, but let's at least start it. The Jewish people come back from war, and then on page 906, Elazar HaKohen says to the men of war, verse 21 on page 906, is about 8 lines down the page. Elazar HaKohen says to the soldiers coming back from war, Zos chukas haTorah asher tziva Hashem es Moshe. This is the law of the Torah which God commanded Moshe. And the Torah is now going to go into the section of koshering utensils. They captured utensils from the Midianites. You want to use these utensils for kosher food. And you know that there's a halacha, you have to kosher utensils. So for example, we're going to see the Torah is going to say, if you took a utensil that was used for soup, they boiled water in that utensil for treif food, for not kosher food, the only way to kosher it is by putting it in boiling water. If they used it for roasting over an open fire, and it's absorbed the non-kosher food into the roaster, the only way to get out what is absorbed is you have to roast it. In other words, the halacha is going to be you have to kosher it by using the same degree of heat to burn out whatever it's absorbed burning in. The metal expands. So if you cook something with metal, it absorbs, according to halacha, it absorbs the non-kosher, it's called blios. It absorbs the non-kosher food into it. How do you kosher it? By doing the equal and opposite level of heat. Okay? That's what the Torah is going to discuss here. We'll see how this affects us tomorrow very much on a personal level. Yeah, go ahead.
Quick question.